City of Lakes Rotary. Good to see you all. Why don't we stand and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance this morning. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I should wait for Brock to catch up before I start. But hey, you all knew that. That was good. That was pretty good. And we're gonna get a flag in here too. So we'll be all set. All right, we'll move on to the four-way test. Of the things we think, say, and do, 1, is it the truth? 2, is it fair to all concerned? 3, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And 4, will it be beneficial to all concerned? All right, our reflection today, Tony Emmons has it. Tony.
Thank you for the claps, I appreciate it. On Mondays, I like in the business section reading the column by Harvey Mackay. He always has such fun things to say and very practical, I think. And he did one recently on the art of gift giving, which I like to share with you, kind of a summary. Gift should show you've paid attention to the recipient and you have a genuine interest in them. We can't always manage that being last minute gifts, but we try. He came across a list of priceless, useful, and thoughtful gifts anyone can give, and they're all free. Yay. The gift of affection, now in appropriate situations. This is not for Governor Cuomo. A pat on the back or hugs or kisses to the appropriate person. Support, show coworkers you care about them. Be interested in their work and see if there's anything you can help with. Laughter, share funny stories. Share a cartoon, a meme, just a joke you heard. Just brighten somebody's day with a little bit of humor. A compliment, compliments reassure people, create positive energy, build trust, and be sincere and genuine in your compliments. Solitude. Solitude does not mean loneliness. Sometimes people need some space. Be aware of that and give it to them if they need it. Joy. Be happy and joyful whenever you can be. And he quotes Norman Vincent Peale. Joy increases as you give it and diminishes as you try to keep it to yourself. In giving joy, you will accumulate a deposit of joy greater than you ever believed possible. Friendship. Without friends, life would hardly be worth living. Let your friends know how much they mean to you. And my favorite one, a smile. People all smile in the same language. A smile should be standard equipment every day.
All right, you may want to sit down for the song because it's kind of long. So today we are going to have a little competition between one half of the room and the other half of the room. So I'm going to split the room right down the middle here between Cindy and Susan. So if you're on this side of the room, you're in group 2, and George is going to lead group 2. And if you're on this side of the room, you're in group 1, and I'm going to lead group 1. And since we have a marching band theme today, we're going to sing 76 Trombones, and I used to play trombone. And I was saying this is one of the few songs where we actually got to have the melody. Otherwise, as the rooters know, I can sing the trombone part like nobody's business, but nobody really wants to hear that. So we're going to start with this side of the room with 76 trombones. 76 trombones led the big parade with 110 cornets close at hand. They were followed by rows and rows of the finest virtuos, left the cream of every famous band. That was good, group 1. Group 2. We've got to be louder. We have to be into it. 76 trombones got the morning sun, with 110 cornets right behind. Very good, although it's hard to see, I know. Okay. Group 1, or we going up or over, Scott? Pounder, bottom, timpani, and horse platoons. Thundering, thundering all along the way. Double bell euphoniums and big bassoons. Each bassoon having its big fat say. There were 50 mountains and the battery. Thundering, thundering louder than
I think our side lost.
All right, I think Group 1 is doing better. All right, everybody. 76 trombones hit the counterpoint, while 110 cornets blazed away. To the rhythm of March, 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 all the kids began to march, and they're marching still yet today. All right, good job. Thank you, George. Good work. All right. Introduction of guests and visiting Rotarians. Brock, do we have any guests or visiting Rotarians online that we see?
We do, and I think John would like to introduce Leslie. John.
John, do you have a guest online?
Yes, I have a guest. It's Leslie Earls. She's the band director at Edison High School, and she knows Betsy, our speaker today. They met as they were directing high school bands, and Leslie is doing a great job of building a music program at Edison High School.
Great. Leslie, do you want to say a word or two?
Good morning, everyone. Yes, I apologize for not being in person. I'm actually on baby duty this morning, so hanging out with my son. Yeah, great to be here. I'm so excited to hear Betsy speak. She's done amazing things at the University of Minnesota, and it's always nice to have another female band director present. So thank you for letting me join you today.
Great. Thanks for being with us today. Chris Morris, I see you have a guest today.
I do. I have with me this morning my daughter Elizabeth. She's here because she's a bandy. Some people might remember that she was here to see Mr. Webb, a former Edina band director where she went to high school. Now she's at the U of M, so she is a member of the Pride of Minnesota and wanted to hear her own director speak today.
All right, welcome. Brock, you have guests with us today.
I do. Many of you will recognize my children. My son Colin is a sophomore at Armstrong, and last night they had their very first marching band rehearsal.
All right.
So he wanted to come see the speaker, and not to be outdone, Bonnie decided to join us as well. We also have someone on the line from the Minneapolis Forum. So I don't know if they want to unmute themselves and introduce themselves. Their title is just Minneapolis Forum.
Minneapolis Forum. Welcome. All right. Well, thank you all for being with us today. Announcements. I have a couple of announcements. The book club is going to meet on September 14th, and we will both be in person and on Zoom, back on my new deck again. So come over, 3814 West Pade-McCoska Parkway in Minneapolis. We are discussing Punching the Air. I am almost done. It's a great book. Please get it, read it. It's been really good to read, and I think you'll enjoy it. September 14th, either on Zoom or at my house. Fill out your survey. Have you filled out your survey yet? Yeah. All right. If you haven't, fill it out. I will send another reminder out today with the link so that you have a chance to give us your input about your experience here at City of Lakes Rotary, the best Rotary Club in the world. Vocational Services is going to meet right after this meeting. Jonathan sent around a link, and did you want to add anything, Jonathan?
Right after, on these tables here, those of you on Zoom, I sent a link to Rock, and we'll put that in the chat box. So click on the link and feel free to join us, even if you've not been to a vocational committee previously. So, can I add one other unrelated?
You sure can.
Sorry to be So on Saturday, last Saturday, we had a great food packing of every meal. First time we've been there as a club. And there were about 15 of us, 15 members, maybe another 5 family members. And we got through in 90 minutes, 1,872 bags that will feed 7,500 people. So thank you.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you, Jonathan, and all of you who could attend. That was a great event. Any other announcements? Yes, Adekunle.
Morning.
Morning.
Saturday, September 25th, we'll be having the second annual Knicker Open 2.0. So for those of you that are golfers, it'd be great if you could attend. As of right now, we have 14 people signed up for the event. I look forward to having all of you there. And also, we will be collecting donations for community emergency services that day. So for those of you that want to participate in that or not golf, it starts at 12 p.m. and we should be done about, I would envision about 5:30, 6 p.m. So afterwards, we'll have a little get together. So if you would also like to just attend that, keep that in mind. Thank
That's
you.
good. So if we can't golf, if you're like me and you can't golf at all, you can still come. Very good. All right, any other announcements? Brock.
Yeah, I'll add one more. We've added one slightly new feature to our Zoom display, our Zoom account, which is that we are now doing closed captioning. So if for whatever reason you or someone you know would appreciate having that, it is a link. We've enabled it, and reading through it so far this morning, it's doing pretty good. I'll give it a 93%, which is a passing grade. It's, it struggles a little bit with things like Edina. But, other than that, it's doing a pretty good job. So if you need that assistance or would like that assistance or want to download a transcript of the meeting, you can also do that through the closed captioning system. So
Great, thank you. Any other announcements? I would just add that, as you saw, we're having people kind of gather in the other room, and we'll put the coffee out there too before meetings so people can feel more free to mingle around before the meeting starts. It seemed to work well today, so hopefully we'll have more chance to mingle out there before the meeting starts. All right, fun with vocations. Jonathan, you have some fun with vocations for us this morning.
All right, Scott, you'll have to give me the hook here. I have more stories than I expected. So I sent out an email to the club a little belatedly Sunday or Monday and asked for updates on what people are doing vocationally in their outside, in their professions and so forth. And I got more than I expected. So I'm gonna read these kind of in the order I got them. I'll try to be brief, but a lot of people are doing some really interesting things. And we're gonna do this periodically through the year. And we'll have other people on our vocational team kind of rotate my role today, which is really reading and sharing these. And if I can get permission, I'll post these. All right, the first update came from Jody on Monday. And I'm just gonna read her email here. I'd love to share some updates on Allvain. Allvain is a line of CBD oils, topicals, and gummies for people and pets. I'm proud to share that we are now an official sponsor of the Twin Cities Marathon Weekend and partner of Twin Cities in Motion. Additionally, our motto is Relief for Good, and we give 10% of every purchase back in the community. This year, our designated recipient is Guild, supporting mental health and homelessness, and where City Lakes member George Brewston is development director. Actually, now he's got a new position. We'll tell you that later. We're proud to take part in the Bash for Guild this past weekend, where I ran into Joyce Agnew and former member Paul Botts and his wife. Next one comes from Bill Jackson. I'm very excited to have an opportunity to lead the International Service Committee in their support of the newly formed Rotary Community Corps, made up of members of Engineers Without Borders, Minnesota Professional Chapter. The first initiative of ISC with the Rotary Community Corps is leading the effort of submitting a $30,000 district grant, small international project for Rio Azul School in Guatemala. Let me know if you have any questions concerning the ISC's initiative with the newly formed RCC, Rotary, that's the Rotary Community Corps. That's great. Russ Mikolitz. After a 3-year hiatus this fall, Russ will again serve his alma mater, Gustavus Adolphus College, by teaching business law in two-hour sections, Tuesday and Thursday mornings. He also takes on responsibility as director of the Gusty Cup, a campus-wide entrepreneurial competition scheduled for next spring. And then the last one I have here, George Brewston. I had noticed that if you're in LinkedIn, you get alerts when people's titles have changed. And so I asked him about that. So he was developmental director, and he says here, yes, my role at Guild changed. It is not a promotion, it is an evolution. Our CEO, Julie Bloom, wanted me to work at my highest purpose, which is networking, individual fundraising, and event planning. My new title, Senior Philanthropy Officer, was created, and a new advancement director was hired to manage the development and marketing and communications departments at Guild. That individual will focus more on strategy and corporate and foundation grants, while I stay focused on individual giving. And by the way, he's now been there for 30 years in a variety of roles. And after 30 years at Guild, my passion for the mission of helping people with mental illness and homelessness has never been stronger. I'm grateful to all of my fellow City Lakes Rotary members that support me in Guild. And if I have one more minute, there was one that came from early July. So Keith Muller, who was a member up until July 1st, he donated $20,000, or he had earmarked $20,000 that Northwestern Mutual awarded on his behalf to Crescent Cove. And this was the same group that our Rotary Club had raised funds for outdoor musical play equipment there, of nearly $19,000 according to this, to make that project a reality. So we're doing a lot of great things both as a club and individually, and keep these updates coming, and we'll figure out a way to get it posted online. So if you have updates between our sessions, we can certainly get that out to everyone. So my congratulations to everybody. Thank you.
That was perfect. That wasn't too long at all. Thank you so much, Jonathan. Next, one of my favorite parts of the meeting is hearing about our new members, and we have a new member vocational from Timothy Kingsley. Tim, welcome. Good to see you today. You can almost just walk over here from work, I'm guessing, right? Perfect, perfect. Good to see you.
Well, I had a joke I was going to start out with and tell you that my vocation is this, this, and this, and tell you I'm an investment banker, but thanks for that. If I'm going to tell you about my vocation and do an honest vocational, I have to start with my first calling. And my primary vocation is I'm a husband and a father. Husband to Sarah, father to William and Alexandra. Born and raised in Minneapolis. I grew up in Richfield, adopted into a family. Attended Breck, went to Richfield briefly. Attended the U with some semblance of success or not success, depending how you wanted to look at it at 17 years old. And ended up in the United States Navy. And the reason I'm telling you this long story to get to my vocation is because the arc means everything, as you can imagine. I spent time in the service in the United States Navy, serving on submarines and special operations, and learning and gathering certain skills, if you will. Came back to the University of Minnesota with aspirations of changing the world like Woodward and Bernstein and being an investigative journalist. That didn't work out. Somebody found me around the Twins Super Bowl World Series time and said, you know, I really like the way you handle people, watching you bounce at the Nankin, so I think I'd like you to be on my security team. Will you do that? Now, you heard me bouncing at the Nankin, and those of you that are, okay. So I started working with the Minnesota Twins organization and that director of security, and about 35 years later, that's what I've been doing as an executive leadership in security. And in security, I had a tremendous amount of experiences. I all forms and usages, DOD contract to commercial real estate. At one time, I was privileged to look at the skyline and said I did 75% of the security services I looked at, 80% in St. Paul. Was in New York, I had an opportunity to be at triage in Tower 2 as Tower 2 came down around us. And then I was chief of public safety at Columbia University. Back in Minnesota, when we moved back to Minnesota, I had an opportunity to work for a company called American Security. And in that environment, I got to serve a Super Bowl, 2 conventions. One of the most importance is probably the Republican National Convention. Significantly busy, lots of opportunities for a budding security executive, lots of adrenaline, lots of fun. At the end of that, the delegation that I was taking care of says, "You must really love protecting people." And I took a moment to pause. I've been doing this for 35 years, at this point, 32 or so, at 30. And I'd had compliments through the entire career that I did well at what I did. And I heard, "You must love what you do" in that statement, and that made me take a step back and go, I don't know that I love protecting people, but what I do love is empowering people, coming alongside an individual, offering skills and resources and education so they can protect themselves. Because what I do like to do is notice the vulnerable and vulnerabilities and come alongside them. And that person looked at me and said, "Have you ever thought of being clergy?" So then I started reflecting back to the 5-year-old, and I didn't tell you this story. If you asked me what I wanted to be when I was 5, it was a fireman, a professional football player for the Minnesota Vikings, or a priest. But I didn't listen to that voice at 5. I didn't listen to that voice for the next, on or about 30-some years. And then the voice got really loud, and I entered seminary. Thanks be to God, I was hired shortly thereafter, and I left formal security work and went to my home cathedral where I was raised at St. Mark's Episcopal Cathedral, where I currently serve as their chief operating officer and canon pastor. I'm Edina police chaplain, so try to spell Edina well. And I'm a crisis manager for a Minnesota crisis intervention team. And my calling today is working with those in crisis, coming alongside the vulnerable, both those in crisis in the public and the law enforcement community, and trying to bridge gaps. I find it a privilege to be with this Rotary Club. I think we have a tremendous opportunity to do some great work in the city, and I hope my gifts and talents support your efforts.
Thank you so much, Tim. Wow, what a career. I'm hoping I never ran into you after a little too much Wanderer's Punch at the Namkin back in the day. Yeah, I might have. So it is my privilege today. I get to introduce the speaker, which, what a privilege it is for me to be able to do this. Betsy Mccann is the Assistant Director of Bands and Director of Marching and Athletic Bands at the University of Minnesota. And in this position, she directs the Pride of Minnesota Marching Band, conducts the university band, and instructs undergraduate conducting and manages the comprehensive athletic bands program. Mccann is the first woman to head a Big Ten marching band and athletic bands program, and she has guided the program to great success on and off the field, including a recent internationally renowned performance in the Super Bowl 52 halftime show. Betsy is active nationally as a guest conductor, clinician, adjudicator, and speaker. She has presented on leadership and other topics at a variety of public and private events, including multiple appearances at the College Band Directors National Association Athletic Bands Conference, the Minnesota Music Educators Association Midwinter Clinic, and various corporate training events. She has served as the guest conductor and clinician with bands from the United States and Canada, including the Minnesota All-State Concert Band. Mccann is a strong supporter and active conductor of new music, receiving positive acclaim from composers, performers, and audiences for her interpretation and conducting artistry. Betsy has been committed toward commissioning and performing new compositions since her time as a public school educator and strives to increase collaboration between composers and performing musicians. Mccann is a member of the National Association of Music Education, College Band Directors National Association, National Band Association, Minnesota Music Educators Association, and Phi Beta Mu. She serves on the College Board of Directors, for the National Association of Athletic Band Committee and is an honorary member of Kappa Kappa Psi and Tau Beta Sigma. She lives in the Minneapolis area with her husband, who we've had as a speaker as well, who was really great, and her 2 children. Betsy, welcome. Thank you for being with us this morning.
Well, good morning, and Scott, thank you for the kind introduction. It's wonderful to be here. I'm thrilled to see you all, and I'm happy to talk about band, one of my favorite things to talk about. So this is going to be great. As I get onto the meeting, I'm curious, how many of you are or were in band at some point? Very good. Excellent. And how many people are band fans? Okay, good. We need band fans as much as we need people in the band. It's, as we learned last year in the pandemic, it's not as much fun to just play for ourselves. Having a crowd is wonderful. So as you heard, I'm the athletic band director at the University of Minnesota. It is an absolute joy to work with the students, work with the colleagues, and work with the university and the community in the way that I do. And today we'll be talking about the marching band primarily. I do a lot of other things at the university, but of course the most visible is the marching band. So we will chat about that. I'm going to tell you about kind of what we really learn in marching band. We learn to march, we learn to put on great shows, we learn to play our music better, but none of our students are majoring in marching band because that's not a thing. Nobody's gonna be a professional marcher in their future. Our students are doing other things after school. So my goal is to make sure that they're prepared to be the best people they can be in whatever they're going into. When they enter your company, when they move into your community, I want them to be absolutely stellar when they get there. And the way that I teach them is through marching band, which thankfully is something that everyone I work with loves and is happy to learn through. So that's the goal of what we do in marching band. Let me get this going here. That is not exactly what I was hoping to share with you. Take 2. Nope. Okay, let me try this again here. You'd think I'd be a whiz at Zoom by now, right? So our marching band, well, just kidding. Maybe I can't talk and do this at the same time. I seem to have lost the presentation here. It's in a different window. There we go. Boom. Perfect. We made it. This is, so I present all over the country on leadership, and I present to a lot of corporations, and we talk about, band and what we do here and how it relates to a corporate culture, how it relates to building a culture, how we can take this and turn it into, your engineering firm and what you do. And this is my first in-person presentation since the before times. So it's thrilling to be with you in real life. I know, we've made it. Of course, now at the university, we're requiring masking again, and we're trying to navigate how we're going to do this with a room full of people intentionally blowing air into the room, but we'll get there. So a little bit about the band. We have 320 members. We have students from all over the university who join us, and our goal is to put on great shows, to make sure we're entertaining, to make sure that we are giving some wonderful things for all of you who come and see us. So real quick, I'm going to show you a video of what we do so you can get an idea for what the band is doing now. So that was a 15-minute show, down into that 40 seconds for you. But that 15-minute show, we learned in 4 days. And also on top of that show, the students learned our 15-minute pregame show in that same 4 days. And on top of all of that, all the music is memorized, all the marching is memorized, everything is done without looking at a thing while they do this. That's impossible. Every year I get to the point where I'm at right now, where we're about to start camp, and I think, how are we going to do this? How can we get all of these people to learn that much and execute something like this in this short amount of time? And every year, the students do the seemingly impossible, and they make this happen. And the way that we do it is because of this culture that we've inherited and that we've built and that we've created to help empower these students to do things that, I don't know, Lizzie, you tell me, they walk in and they feel like they can't do. You know, I talk to people who are new in the band and they think, there's no way, I can't make that happen. And we do, because it is possible, because of this culture that we have created in the band. Now, any culture, of course, has inherited elements to it. So a little bit about our history. Yes. I can do band director voice where I speak to all 320 with nothing, so let me know. Okay. So the band is in our 130th season this fall. So we started in 1892 as a 29-member cadet band, and it was mostly student-led. That's a picture of us from 1913, so close to that beginning. And this is where we began. And at that time, the band would literally go to the games at Memorial Stadium and pass a hat around to raise money to go to football games. So they'd raise money at the game, they'd get on a train, they'd go, across the Big Ten and play at other games. This is us. I believe this picture is from Ann Arbor. You can see that we're marching with a concert tuba there. Anyone who's in band knows that that's got to be incredibly challenging. And I love the car. It dates the photo in a beautiful way. So the band started here, and it was one of the earlier bands in the Big Ten and in the country, and they found success right away. Things were going very well for the band in these early years. We were all men at the time, only men allowed in the band. In World War II, women did come in and march, as happened in many places in the country, and then when the war was over, they were no longer allowed to march, so we formed the Girls Auxiliary Band, and this is the Girls Auxiliary Band from 1950. Here they had to make their own uniforms, so they all sewed the uniforms. They didn't have their own instruments, but they borrowed whatever leftovers from the men's band, the marching band, they could get, and they were allowed to march in one halftime show in the season, so they'd march with the men in one show. And then those of you who have been at the U for a while may remember the band would always march to Memorial Stadium before every game, and the Girls Auxiliary Band was allowed to march behind the men on the way into the stadium. Times have changed. So I speak to women from this time, and many of them loved their experiences. They had a great time in it, and many did not, and we're very aware of the inequality, and many refused to march in the Girls Auxiliary Band because it was unfair. And that's where we were for quite a while. So when I and I got some press, and I had a flood of women contacting me from this time who were unable to march or who were there in the beginning, who really paved the way for me to be able to march as a college student. And I had no idea when I was marching. That was only a few years ago that women were first allowed. But they made this happen. So this is a letter that I love. This is from a woman who was going to college. She wanted to be in the marching band. She was looking at a few schools around the country, and she wrote to our band program asking, if I go to the University of Minnesota, can I be in the band? And the beginning of the letter says, "Dear Joy, the University of Minnesota Marching Band is limited to male students, the reason being that the long and strenuous hours of practice would be exhausting to the average girl." So try telling that to my women who are now marching with the tenor drums, like 5 drums in front of them, which is 60 pounds of weight on their back. And they're fine, by the way, they're just fine. So this is where we were. It's from 1967, that letter there. Now, I know, can you believe it? So I'd be remiss if I did not mention Dr. Ben Prosciutto in our history. Dr. Ben was the longtime director of bands at the University of Minnesota. Now we have 4 band directors at the U, and we all have our own areas. At that time, Dr. Ben did everything. He was a Renaissance man. He ran the concert bands, he ran the marching band, he ran the jazz bands, he composed music, he did everything, and he was the University of Minnesota bands. And alumni have incredibly fond memories of Dr. Ben, and he really built our program into what it's become. So this is Dr. Ben in the Metrodome. And it's also dated by the Winston cigarette ad in the back in the Metrodome there. We don't see that anymore so much in the stadium. So Dr. Ben was with us for quite a long time, and he was leading the band when women were allowed back in the band. Because of Title IX. So in 1972, when Title IX came through, women were forced to be allowed in the band, which was fine with some folks and not fine with other folks. So this is the first year that women marched as full members of the marching band. They were not in uniform. They were in skirts and sweaters that they made once again, and they were not allowed to play in the halftime shows. They had to put their instruments down and dance while the men played. So that was 1972, the first year they were full members of the marching band. Now, this did not go over well with anybody. So by the next year, by 1973, the women were fully integrated into the band and they were marching. It did take another 34 years before we had our first woman as a drum major in the band. That was Molly Waters. We have our second female drum major this year. We're very excited. Julia White's running the band and does a wonderful job. And it was 43 years after this that I took over as the first female director of the band and the first in the Big Ten. There's one more now. So I'm not alone at those conferences. So that's a little bit about our history and kind of what brought us to where we are and what brought me to where I am now. So who are we now? We have 320 marchers, although inside scoop, that's actually a lie. So as with any university admissions, the university always says, we're going to admit this many students because we know this many will drop over the summer and we'll actually get the number we want. And that's what I do with the band. We're highly competitive. Students audition to get in. In different sections, it's different. Some sections, only 20% of the students who audition are able to get a spot in the band. Some it's a little more. Average is about 40% of students who audition are in the band. And I wish I could take them all, but we only have so much room in our rehearsal hall. So we take 320. So this year, I took a little bit more than the 320 because I know over the summer, a few students will decide to go somewhere else for college or things change. Nobody dropped. I think they're all so ready to come back that they are all coming. So we're gonna be a little tight in fitting uniforms to everybody, but you don't have to tell anyone. That's just for you and me. We have 19 paid staff members. These folks are not full-time. These folks are students who help out with our uniforms, our instruments. These folks are instructors who help just with a drum line or just with a color guard. This is a great crew of people who really make everything happen and help me make sure these 320 students are having the best possible experience. And we have 50-ish volunteers, and these are mostly alumni who love band and they come back. And again, this year, I have way too many volunteers. I don't have enough jobs for them in our camp, which is great. They're so excited just to be back in person this year. Now, last year we were in person. The band did meet. We were legally too big to get together in one place. Governor Walz's cap was at 250 people. So we had to split the band into 3 groups. We had a virtual group. We had 2 in-person groups. And we had kind of a hybrid season. And it was great. And we marched and we played and we made it happen. But it was not what we all expect. So we're thrilled to be back, all of us, in person this year. Our students are not all music majors. This year we're at about 8.5% music majors. The rest of our students are all over campus. We have over 100 majors represented. And in every college, we have post-secondary students who are in high school but taking college classes. We have students from every one of the undergraduate colleges. We have students from the graduate school. And we have adults who are taking continuing and professional education credits who are coming back and get into the band and play. And when I say adults, I recognize my students are adults too. They always say adult, like, McCann, you're a real adult. They're real adults too. I just want to make sure that that's very clear for anybody listening in. So our students come from all over the place. And surprisingly, we're mostly engineers. Our largest college of enrollment is the College of Science and Engineering. So there are times when we have to do a formation on the field and I make a chart and I explain to the students what's going on. And one of the engineers will be like, oh yeah, it's this and such. Okay, sounds great. And then they all know how to march it because it's some engineering thing that I don't know about, but that's the shape they're making on the field. So our students do really well in school. Their average GPA is a 3.6, which is remarkable considering just being in band is already a part-time job. They spend 10 to 25 hours a week in band, and those are our standard students. Our student leaders spend way more time because of their leadership duties. So it's quite a commitment, and they work really hard to keep their GPAs up in whatever their major is, as well as dedicate all this time to the band. And like I said before, they memorize 8 shows, our pregame show, plus 7 halftime shows every year, 15 minutes of music, 15 minutes of drill for each of those. They execute it. We might have 1 or 2 weeks to learn a show, and then the next Monday they show up to class And it's brand new music, it's brand new drill, and they're having to memorize a whole new show and get that whole new thing going. So the level at which they are working is incredibly high, and it's amazing to see what they do and how they make these things happen. And part of how we do it is through a really intense student leadership training program. I can't teach 320 students how to do what you saw there. There is no way that one person can make that happen. So I delegate. My word is empower. Every day when I walk into my office, I have a whiteboard behind my desk. And on the top of my whiteboard, I wrote in big capital letters, empower. So that every day I walk in and I remember, okay, that's my purpose. That's what I'm doing. That's what I have to do here is empower these students to make the things that they love and make the things that they want happen. And we do that through a lot of this leadership training. So what do we learn? To march, to play, sure. But these are the big things. When my students go out and they're in an engineering firm, when they're going to be a surgeon, when they're going to be a teacher, I want them to have an awesome work ethic. They have to learn time management or they can't survive marching band. I want them to know that they have their own unique ways to contribute and their own authentic ways to contribute. But at the same time, they need to be part of this larger group. When we perform, we don't want to see each individual. We need to contribute to that whole. My students have to take ownership and pride in their work to do what we do, and that's incredibly important for me to see them learn to take that pride and that ownership. We work together to reach these common goals of the shows and all that we do. We're diverse. We have students from all over the country. Every year we get more and more diverse. We get students from international places as well as band gets bigger in other areas. So they need to figure out how to work with a really diverse group and people who are coming from all over and may have some different ideas than them. And they need to learn how to give back. And our students see that in all of our alumni volunteers who come back and the folks who contribute to their scholarships, that they get to meet and hear about their experiences in band. And that's something that's valuable and important for them to learn in band. So then the question is, how do we do it? When I took over the band as the head director, I was lucky in that I had been the assistant director for a few years before that. So I got the chance to get in the culture and understand what's happening. And by the way, I had been a student in the band too, which certainly helped. I did my undergraduate work at the U. So I marched in the band as a student. I went off and did other things. I came back a number of years later as the assistant. And then when I took over as the head, I thought, okay, what are we gonna do here? I can step in and just put on the gas right away because I know the students, they know me, I know the staff, I know my stakeholders, I know where we're at. And I thought, well, I want us to play better. I want us to march better. And I'm not going to talk about either of those. We're going to talk about culture. And we're going to talk about how we can create a group that's going to do amazing things. And then those other things are just going to happen as a result. So the first thing I did was just focus on all of my stakeholders, internal and external, my students, my alumni, the fans, the folks who work in athletics, the folks who work in the College of Liberal Arts, everybody. Do they feel valued by the band? And do they feel like they have value to contribute? And this is one of the big things I talk about with corporations is, who are all your stakeholders? And have you considered all those folks? And do you take any of those groups for granted? Or do they understand that you as the leader of that organization or that group or whatever, do they understand that you value them? So one of the things that I do is by day 2 of our camp, I make sure that I know all of my new members' names. Now we get between 80 and 100 new marchers every year. And that's a lot of people. It was really hard with mask last year. And I'm really worried this year that I've only seen like the top half of all your faces. So now I'm gonna have to make sure that with the bottom half of their faces, I still know who they are. But by day 2, I make sure that I've learned all 80 to 100 names of those students. And it freaks them out a little bit, I think, that I know them by name. But I want to know these people, and I want them to know that I care about you as an individual. You're not just so-and-so who plays the saxophone. You're an individual who I'm going to ask questions about. What do you like? Why are you here? Where are you from? What's your favorite song you've ever played? Whatever it happens to be. And that helps them know that I care about them. And the great thing is my students go with it too. My drum majors always try to beat me and learn the names before I do. They never do. I always win that one. So that helps. I always make sure that I'm asking questions. I find out what they care about in band. What do they want? What do they want to see happen? What can I delegate to you? How can I put you, 18-year-old, in charge of something in the band so you feel that you're in charge and you feel that ownership? How can I involve you in decision making? And I really work to make things very stakeholder-centric instead of me-centric. So once they feel valued, I want to make sure that all my stakeholders trust their leaders. Me, my other staff, my student leaders, everybody who's a leader in the group, I want them to trust us. One of the ways that I do this is making sure that I'm always leading from in front. I'm not going to ask my people to do anything that I wouldn't do as well. So this summer, we were trying really hard to get the band members to work out throughout the summer. Doing our pregame show is more physically strenuous than racing a 5K. It's a lot of work. You can't show up to band camp without being in good shape. So I said, okay, I'm going to join the Strava group and I'm going to log all my workouts every day, and you're all going to see what I'm doing every day because I'm asking you to do it every day. There's a year that I unfortunately had my photo crew take a picture of me doing something that I usually do, but we teach our run cadence. So how many people have seen the band's pregame show? At football games, cool. So the band starts, we're hiding, we're under the stadium, and then we run down the tunnel onto the field, and they're run high step marching. So unfortunately, the tuba players who are holding this giant hunk of metal have to run high step march. And there's a night where we teach this to everybody in the band. It's going to be so fun this year. You can't wait. And we're all in a big circle, and we go around and we practice and people demonstrate. And I'm not going to make those tuba players do this if I'm not going to do it. So I run cadence with a tuba with them every year to show them, okay, I can do this. Now, I have to teach. I'm not going to go do it every time we do a run of pregame. I've got to do my job in direct. But I make sure that every now and then I'm doing something to show the students that I'm in this with them. So the great thing too is other people come around. So that's me. It's our announcer. You'd recognize his voice. You don't recognize his face or his tuba run cadence, and one of my graduate students. And I said, okay, who's coming with me? We're gonna do this year. And they came along. So we get the staff to create that trust and create those relationships and make sure that the students are with us in what we're doing. So they feel valued, they trust their leadership. Then we need to get all of our stakeholders to buy in to what we're doing. And this is a big thing that I do with my student leaders, is figure out how do we get that buy-in? Because what we're doing isn't always fun. Band is fun. Whenever I tell anybody what my job is, they say, oh, that must be so much fun. And I say, yeah, it is. And it's also a lot of hard work because it rains and we still do it. And it's 15 degrees outside and we still do it. And whatever comes, we still have to do our job and work all these hours. So how do we get people to buy in to make it happen, especially when it's hard? Well, one thing we talk about is David Logan's tribal leadership. And I don't know if anybody is familiar with his work, but he does ethnographic study on groups through history and throughout the world and seeing how societies function. And a tribe, he just says, is a group of people who are brought together, by what they do or where they live, of a size that's roughly the size of our sections in the band. So the clarinets are a group that big, the drumline is a group that big. So stage one is not a stage that hopefully any of our groups are in. It's just people who are on their own, trying to make the best they can in a hostile world and get ahead. That's not any of our sections in the band, I can tell you that. Stage two goes from all life sucks to my life sucks. Does anyone watch The Office, or did you, 15 years ago when it was a thing? This is what I think of as stage two, Stanley sitting there at his desk, I cannot believe I work at this place and everybody here is an idiot, and well, I guess I'm getting a paycheck. So that's stage two in a society, is we're doing what we gotta do, but we're not really contributing a lot. And a surprising number of groups kind of works at that stage. And we have certain, members of the band who come in and that's kind of where they're at. And our goal then is to get them to stage three, which is I'm great. I'm gonna work really hard. I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna get ahead. I'm gonna be the section leader. I'm gonna get the solo. But then there's and you're not. I'm working hard to get ahead, but it's for me and it's for that movement, and it's not to bring the whole team along with me. This is where the majority of groups, based on David Logan's research, live. The majority of corporate cultures, the majority of any group you may be in, is people are working hard and they're doing some great stuff, but we're not necessarily pulling everybody along with us. Where we really strive to do is keep going up to stage four, which is we're great. Now we're working together as a team. We have a goal. We're going to be the best band in the Big Ten. We are going to have the most amazing show that anybody's ever seen. We're going to do all this, and we know that it takes all of us together to make this happen, and we're going to pull everybody along. And there's that Winkus Link concept. If somebody needs some extra help with something, we're going to help them with that and stay after practice as long as it takes to do it. This is an awesome place to be. But in stage four, there's still an adversary. If we're going to be the best band in the Big Ten, well, that means we're trying to be better than them and them and them. there's still that element there. So where we really want to go is to stage 5, which goes from we're great to life is great. And this is where, sure, we can be the best band in the Big Ten, but that's not the goal. The goal is to take this place that we have, and the goal is to take this entity that we live in, the University of Minnesota Marching Band, and do good things in our community, do great things for our students, do great things for our city and our state and our conference and the country, and make sure that we're doing things that make the world a better place instead of make us better. And that's where we strive to be. So we work on this with our student leaders, and we think about, where are we right now? Flute section, where's your culture? Where are people? Okay, so let's meet everybody there, and then how can we move up this ladder and get where we want to go? And one way we do this is through talking about our DNA. With all my science majors, this discussion usually goes pretty well. So we've over the years, I started this with my student leaders when I was the assistant director. We've talked about our DNA as an organization. So they know about DNA of an organism. And we talk about how that relates to our organization. So our DNA makes up who we are. Our DNA can make up the great things that we do. It can have coding for problems. The environment can interact with the DNA. It can change and mutate over time based on environmental factors. And that's all true of the organizations that we're all part of. So in the marching band, our students over a number of years kind of came up with and adjusted and solidified our DNA. And then we have this all over our space. These are in posters and a couple places in our practice facility. These are the front page of our syllabus. This is who we are, and this is how we define ourselves and make our decisions. And this is what our students kind of live by. So we have community. We feel like we're a part of our community. We love being part of the University of Minnesota and the cities and the state, and interactions with that community are important. We have family. We talk about band family, and it is. Some people call it band cult, but I don't believe that. I believe band family. You know, we care about each other, and we work together to do the best things that we can. And for the 4 years, hopefully only 4, but maybe more years that our students are in college with our band, it is our family, and it is our chosen family for that time. Tradition is so important for us. For any marching band in the Big Ten, tradition is a big deal, but our students also know that it's coding for problems. Anyone who's a band alumni a long time ago, there were things that were part of the tradition that now would go right in the hazing bucket. And we need to recognize that that's part of our past. And we have alumni who have these great memories of these things that we need to make sure don't seep back into what we're doing. Pride is another one that we are so proud of who we are. We are so proud of what we do. We're so proud of the state that we represent. And we need to make sure that that pride is also tempered with the humility and the hard work and the knowledge of what we earn. So that's another one of those DNA things that we watch both sides. And performance is clearly very important to us. We love to perform. Last year, we did shows for empty stadiums. We had some video cameras and some drones that we played for. And while, you know, those camera operators did cheer really loudly for us, it just wasn't the same as 50,000 people out there and the rush that you get performing for people like that who really appreciate what you're doing. So that's an incredible part of us. So this is what we live by. We created this DNA. We made this so that students can buy in and understand what we're really about. And then the next thing is to create a movement. So if everybody feels like they're valued, they trust their leadership, they buy in, they're like, okay, we're ready, what are we gonna do? Well, we've gotta do something. Now, I, as a speaker, did a really, really bad thing, and I didn't actually ask when you want me to stop speaking. So before I actually play a video, well, what time do you want me to stop? End at 8:30 for sure. Okay. Sounds good. Then we're going to skip the video for now. But you should go home and watch this. It's hilarious. It's a TED Talk. It's 2 minutes long from Derek Sievers. And it is just a joy. So go check this out. It talks about how to start a movement and get people on board behind something. So now we start movements. We have our student leaders, we have everyone else in the band, and we're all leaders, we're all followers. We talk about in our leadership retreat how we can create effective followers. So the movements that we start, people are going to be part of. We want people to be independent, thinking critically, not just kind of going along with what we do. We want them to be active and making things happen. I want the students to come to my office and say, Professor McCann, did you think about this? Did you consider that? I know that this probably works for most of the band, but this is a big problem for the color guard. I want them to come and ask me those questions. I don't want students to just leave me alone and let things happen. So we talk about Robert Kelly's research on followers and how people follow and how do we cultivate effective followers instead of sheep. or yes people, or the worse, alienated followers who just sit there and think, well, I could do that better. I know how that should work. So that's one thing that we talk about when we create these movements, and we want people to follow what we're doing. And then what do we get? Movements that we've started that have gone well are better performance. Remember how when I took the job, I said I'm not going to talk about wanting us to play better or march better? Well, we do. We play better and we march way better than we did when I took over the band in 2016. And that's simply because we created this culture where the students are making things happen. We have better efficiency in our rehearsals. They're doing more work outside of band, and they're taking great pride in that. We have a better holistic structure for our group. Our students come from over 100 majors. They're super smart and really, really knowledgeable about things that can help the band. So we have a huge volunteer team system now. You know about social media? Great. I don't. So you join that volunteer team and you help us out. You know about photography? Great. Join our photo team. Are you able to sew? Awesome. Our uniform team needs you. So we have all these areas where students can get involved and contribute their expertise to the band in ways that go well beyond the music and the marching. Our community engagement has elevated like crazy over the last few years because of this. Our students have started regular gigs where they go play at hospitals for folks, who are in the waiting room waiting for people. Regular things where they're playing at different schools, where they're out in the community, where they're going to Feed My Starving Children on a regular basis. They're creating community engagement that they believe in and they believe is important because they see their place as a University of Minnesota marching band member, and they know that they can use that to do great things in our community. They're also working hard on social issues. We have speakers come to talk to our students all the time. I mean, over the years, we've had people come talk about how to take care of their mental health, how to make smart decisions with alcohol as a college student, how to go through bystander training when you see something going on. What do you do? We have people coming in to do talks about diversity, equity, inclusion. We have people coming in to work with us on all kinds of things that go beyond marching and playing, but that hopefully are going to set them up to be incredible people next in their life. And as the results, we're playing better. We have way better engagement of our students in our community. We've seen a large increase in philanthropy to the band. Our retention is unparalleled across college bands. We have students who generally they kind of drop band by junior, senior year as their majors get more intense, and they're not doing that. They're sticking with us. And we have incredible growth of leadership from our quote non-leaders. And these are the students who are not designated as a student section leader in the band, but they're leading. And the results are things that I can't create. A few years ago, my drum major came to me and said, hey, can I make a video to send to all of our new members before they start the band? I said, okay, just show it to me before you send it out so I can say it's okay, but sure. And he got together all these people from all different sections of the band and created this that then introduced people to our culture before they even start and got them enveloped in what we do. So I'll end showing this to you. So imagine you're a freshman, you're about to start at the giant, scary University of Minnesota in this band full of people that are probably really good and scary because they're all older than you. And there's that level of nerves. And then you get this, or imagine you're their parent, if that's an easier way to imagine it as well. And this is your introduction to the band. You're welcome for joining us.
We are the pride of Minnesota. Congrats, and let us be some of the first to welcome you to the University of Minnesota Marching Band.
We absolutely cannot wait to have you join us in carrying on the traditions that started 127 years ago.
This season, we had the most auditions ever.
From the most talented musicians from across Minnesota,
the Midwest,
and the country. And you were selected to be a part of the band.
That's no easy feat.
So go and tell your friends and family that pretty soon you'll be representing the entire state of Minnesota.
This group of people are about to become your study partners,
roommates,
best friends,
and family here on campus.
And we know we speak for the rest of the 320 band members when we say,
you made the best decision of your life in joining this band.
So get excited.
Come August 21st, you'll begin making memories and building friendships that will last you a lifetime.
So what are you waiting for?
Pick up your instrument and hop on that treadmill, because the longest pregame show in the Big Ten isn't going to learn itself.
And don't worry,
we'll teach you everything you need to know soon enough.
So in the meantime, celebrate your accomplishments, and we'll see you soon.
Ski-U-Ma
and go Gophers.
We are.
We are.
We are.
We are.
We are.
We are. We are.
You are the pride of Minnesota.
And that's what we do. Well, thank you. Thanks for having me. It's been great to meet many of you, and I appreciate you inviting me to your group this morning. So thanks.
Professor McCann, I'm going to have you stay up here for a second. In honor of your speaking today, we donate a book to Way to Grow so that a third grader can have a book of their own, and we'd love to have you sign it for that third grader. And then you get to take home a bookmark that is made in Haiti by a group that we support, and we need to give a lot more support with the events of the last few weeks. So thank you so much for being with us today. You may be able to stay around a little bit for questions afterwards, and we really appreciate it.
Great.
So thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Wonderful, thank you.
So next week, the great programs keep coming. Thank you, Karen. Next week, we have Carol Strohecker, who is the Dean of the University of Minnesota College of Design, another fantastic program. I want to thank Tim for a wonderful vocational today. Thank you, Tim. Tony, thank you for the reflection. Our great Zoom masters, Brock and Ross, thank you so much. Mary Pat Cumming, thank you for signing folks in. Thank you all for being here today. I hope you all have a great Rotary week.